Welcome to this episode of Modern Leaders powered by AI. Today we're going to look at how to use ChatGPT to improve one of the most powerful tools you have in your toolbox as a leader, and that is communication. You communicate every single day with a lot of different people in a lot of different ways. You always communicate for a reason. You want to have something done. Now, two things are important when you want to have something done. First of all, your message needs to come across. You most likely already use ChatGPT to reply to emails or formulate new emails. That's easy. That's the basic stuff of ChatGPT. But the second thing that's important when communicating is your communication style, because your style is going to trigger certain reactions in the other side receiving the communication. You don't always have to have the same style. You might need to trigger different reactions, and therefore you need to be able to change your style according to the context and the situation. The last thing you want to have is that the style triggers a complete rejection on the other side, because if you do that, you will spend a lot of time and waste a lot of effort trying to correct the problems. Today we're going to look at how you can use ChatGPT to change your style. Message stays the same, the style changes fundamentally. I switched to ChatGPT. As you can see, I'm using version 3.5, not 4, even though it's out, simply because 4 is slow. I'm going to insert my first request. Let's start generating. I'm going to scroll back to show you what I'm doing. I ask you to reformulate the following email using non-violent communication. That is a certain communication style, which is very good in not triggering allergic reactions or personal feelings, because it has a certain structure with 4 elements. And I asked ChatGPT to highlight the 4 elements for us. And then I copy in my fairly undiplomatic, fairly straight email that in real world, this is written by memory from me. It's not a real email, it's written by memory. The project was real, the situation was real. I wrote such an email where I asked basically a subcontractor I told the subcontractor that we will cancel his contract and that we will take over the work and we would like to discuss this with him. In the real world, this triggered the wrong reaction, a very allergic reaction. I want to see how ChatGPT can help us reformulate that. Now, first of all, we start out by listing the observations or the facts that the projects behind the schedule, consortium is losing money. Now, then I express my feelings. I would like to express my concerns. That is how I feel. Then I need to express my needs, given the circumstance, I express my needs. And finally, I ask for what is it I want to have out of this. Now let's see what ChatGPT tells us about the 4 elements. The 4 elements of nonviolent communication are observation, exactly feeling, need, and request. Now, we're going to ask ChatGPT to reformulate using another style, that is non-directive communication. Where we basically don't tell what the solution is, we basically leave that open. So, what does ChatGPT suggest to us? ChatGPT suggests to us that I'm interested in hearing your thoughts on how we can collaborate to move forward and meet our contractual commitments. So instead of telling the solution, as I did in the first email, this one reformulate to basically leave the solution open. We don't want to talk about it. As it says here with the elements of non-directed communication, it's open-ended questions, it's active listening, it's acknowledgement, and it's collaborative problem solving. Now let's use the style of solution-focused communication and ask ChatGPT again to explain the elements to us. Okay, we ask basically if there are certain things that are going smoothly, going well, helpful to hear about them and talk about things that we could improve. So this is much weaker. It's much more like let's talk, let's look for a solution together. Positive inquiry, collaborative problem solving, empowerment of the other side, and solution focused approach. Now, depending on the background and the history, we might need to be more assertive. So let's try to reform this using assertive communication and explain the elements. So this should be more direct. more assertive. This is closer to the original email, being not so diplomatic. Exactly. Assertive communication, clear expression of concerns, request for actions, expectation, respectful tone. Very important. Now, we can ask ChatGPT to be more assertive. Be more assertive. So let's see what it comes up with. I'm making a firm request that your team provide us with a detailed plan. It gets a bit more assertive. Be more assertive. So, again, a firm request. So we expect a concrete timeline now. It's critical to our consortium. So, even more. I continue asking. I demand. It's getting considerably more assertive now. Even more. Extreme concerns. I demand. Again, you see the tone, the whole style of communication changes, becomes much more, well, undiplomatic, aggressive, some would call it, immediate response, more, be more. There's an upper limit. At some point, ChatGPT will basically just block and say it becomes unfriendly and say, I will not do this. You can, of course, still trigger it to continue that path. I think we've shown already now how this can be used to be more assertive. Now, I switch sides. I'm the receiver of this very assertive email and I want to answer using non-binary communication. I put in that very aggressive email. I start by saying, write an answer to the following email, use non-binary communication, list the 4 elements. So, there we go. So, there I get a reply. Dear Kjell Willemoes, I appreciate you reaching out, very friendly. So, a fairly friendly email, non-violent communication, listing first the observations, the factual things, then the personal feelings, appreciations, then the needs. Exactly. There we have it. That's all for this episode. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. As we saw, ChatGPT can be used to quite fundamentally change your communication style even when the message stays the same. Now, it's your job as a leader to understand, first of all, the different communication styles you can apply, and of course understand the context and when to apply them. You know the history, you know the context, you know whether it's time now to escalate. Talk about assertive communication, press that subscription button so you don't miss out on any cool tips and tricks.